How are you all today? Enjoy the conference? I'm Liran Yushinsky, husband and father first, definitely a full-time job on its own. I currently lead automation at JFrog in the Connect group. I've been working in automation for, well, let's say just long enough to have seen a lot of pipeline breaks. Over the year, I built automation infrastructure from scratch, everything from test framework and CI/CD pipelines to Kubernetes and cloud deployments. I'm passionate about making tests not just reliable, but also readable and collaborative. So actually, automation helped the whole team and not just for testers. I'm also a contributor to ISTQB Automation Magazine. I love open source tools and always trying to find ways to make testing more fun. And actually, yes, automation can be fun, right? Outside of the tech, I'm a pro sea kayaker. So when I'm not debugging pipelines, you will probably find me on the water paddling with my gang. And today I will share how we have been using Gauge with Kotlin to bring simplicity to testing, improve collaboration, and scale automation in complex environment. Hopefully you will walk away with few ideas to try with your own team. So let's start. So let me start the story about why the team decided to explore a new automation framework. Basically, we are the automation team. We test web app, APIs, and Kubernetes cluster. And actually, our goal is simple. Make sure what we release works consistently, safely for all our users, of course. So why automation? Take a moment and think about it. If we had to manually test every feature for every release, it would take forever, right? It's repetitive, error-prone, and honestly a bit boring. Automation helps us run to test faster, more often, and frees us to focus on smarter work. It's all about saving time, reducing effort, and getting a better return on investment. But, automation isn't always smooth sailing. Some tests are flaky, they fail randomly. Some are hard to maintain because they're messy or too complex. And sometimes QA developer and business teams don't see the same picture, which makes collaboration tricky. That's why we choose an automation framework instead of writing tests from scratch. Framework give us reusability. We can use them building blocks in multiple tests. They give us centralized reporting so everyone knows what passing or failing. And they also encourage modularity. We can break tests into smaller, easier to manage pieces. And here's where BDD, behavior-driven development, comes in. So BDD is all about describing behavior in the way that everyone understands, QA, dev, and business. Instead of writing tests just for machines, we write tests that explain what the system should do. It keeps everyone aligned and makes collaboration much easier. So in short, we automate to save effort and increase the return on investment. We use a framework to make testing maintainable and reusable, and we use BDD to ensure everyone is on the same page. And that's the intro of the story behind why we're here today. So, the good. After we looked at our challenges, flaky tests, hard maintenance, and that lack of collaboration, we started searching for something that could actually help us. And that's when discovered Gauge. For those who haven't heard of it, Gauge is an open source test automation tool created by ThoughtWorks, the same company where Jason Huggins, the creator of Selenium, worked. What makes it special is that it focuses on readability and collaboration. You don't need to be a QA wizard to understand what's written. Instead of investing in new syntax, Gauge uses something everyone already know, Markdown. Yes, the same thing you use to write README files or documentation. So instead of give and when then, like in Cucumber, you just write. headings, bullet points, tables, nice and clean. That was the first aha moment for us. Tests that look less like programming exercise and more like actually documentation. Developer QA, even product manager could look at them and say, oh yeah, that's what is the feature does. Now, of course, people ask, so isn't just a cucumber with new clauses? And I get it, but Gauge gave us a few key advantages. First, Markdown instead of strict given when then. Don't get me wrong, of course, but given when then is fine. But sometimes it feel like writing a Shakespeare just to test if the login button works. With Gauge, you just describe it naturally, and trust me, when you are writing hundreds of tests, that freedom makes a huge difference. Second, concept and modular architecture. This one was a game changer. Gauge let us bundle steps together into reusable concepts. Think like Lego blocks for tests. Instead of copy-pasting steps across 20 specs, for example, you define them once and snap them in whatever you need. Suddenly, maintaining tests felt more under control, like coverage report that don't lie. Third, parallel execution. Gauge runs tests in parallel by default, which fourth, the built-in goodies like reporting, hooks, reruns, environment configs, all of the box, no endless plugin hunting, no do-it-yourself reporting tool that breaks every other week. It was just there, working. That alone saved us so many headache. And then the hooks. Yeah, give your proper annotation so you can drop code exactly where you need it. For example, before spec, before scenario, after scenario, and many more. Basically, you don't have to duct tape setup and tear down logic into your setup. Gauge already thought of it. Next is the reruns. Like failing tests, you can just tell Gauge to rerun them automatically. Instead of hitting up Jenkins with a shaky hand, please build it again. And my personal favorite is the continue on failure hook. By default, stop the moment a step fails. But if you want to keep going, say to see all the broken pieces at once instead of being surprised one at a time, you just mark that step as a continuous failure. It's like saying, yeah, I know it's broken, but keep testing. I want the full horror report. And the fifth is the data-driven execution and external data sources. Gauge make it trivial to run the same test with multiple inputs. CSV, Excel, JSON, you name it. You just point it to your data and Gauge handles the rest. No complex loop or boilerplate code, just clearing readable specs that scale effortlessly. 6 is the extensible and flexible. Need to inject custom logic, integrate with other tool, or extend reporting? Gauge plugin system and rich API let you do it without turning your test suite into a monster. You stay in control and your team doesn't have to hack around the limitation. So what benefit did we actually see? Readable specs equal to easier onboarding. Okay, so new QA engineers or even developers could look at specs and get it immediately. No training sessions indeed. And I have actually had a developer say, wait, I can write one of those too. Basically, it was a small but a powerful win, you know. Also, the modular steps equals to a better maintainability. When requirements change, we didn't have to edit 50 different files. Just update a step once and everyone was sync. My team stopped growing when feature changed. That's when I knew we are on something. Also, a better collaboration. Because specs were readable, developers stopped reviewing them Some have even contribute new steps. I will be honest, the first time a developer sent me a pull request for a test spec, I had double check I wasn't dreaming. And finally, the CI/CD integration. Gauge plugins smoothly with Jenkins, and you can add Slack notification on top, and suddenly the whole team saw results in real time. No more, hey mate, how did the test go? Slack told the story automatically, and if someone or something broke, everything know about it instantly. And since we are talking about the good, let me share a funny story. We once had this flaky test that only failed on Fridays. I kid you not, every Monday to Tuesday it was green. Come Friday, boom, red. It turned out to be a time zone issue, but for weeks the team called it the weekend bug, with Gauge building in reruns and reporting, spotting and isolating that kind of flaky flavor got so much easier. So to sum it up, Gauge helped us move away from fragile, flaky, hard to retest to setup where our specs are readable, maintainable, and of course, collaborative. For us, automation stopped being just a QA tool and started being a team tool. And honestly, that the real good Gauge brought us. Okay, so far I told you all the good about the Gauge, but of course, nothing in tech is ever that perfect. This part is called the bad, the things that hurt us along the way. Let's start with the big one, migration pains. Yeah, when decided to move to Gauge, we already had mountain of existing tests, mostly Selenium, and so some old system level tests that hard growing like wild weeds or over the years based on JSystem. Rewriting them in Gauge wasn't exactly fun. Imagine trying to move out of an old department where every closet is full of stuff you forgot you owned. That's what migrating our legacy test felt like. Then came the learning curve. Yeah, the Gauge itself is a pretty straightforward, but we paired it with Kotlin. And while Kotlin is a beautiful language, it was new for some of the team. So we weren't just learning Gauge, we were also learning Kotlin at the same time. Some people love it, and others look at me like, I had just handed them IKEA instruction written in Greek or something. And then integration gaps. Gauge gave us a lot, but of course, I didn't cover single thing we needed. From some spatial cases like environment management or costume dashboards, we had to build our own plugins and extension, which meant more coding, more experiment, and yes, more Jenkins job failing. Speaking of Jenkins, here one that still makes me smile. Our first Gauge run in Jenkins, they failed. All of them. Not because the tests were bad, but because the environment wasn't set up properly. So picture this. We had just finished migrating, super excited to see Gauge in action. We click run and everything is red. The Slack channel blow up like we had just triggered a production outage. It was not our finest moment. So how we did dig ourselves out of the bed? First, we created internal documentation and sample repo. Every time someone figured out how to do something in Gauge, we wrote it down. Those sample repos become like little cookbooks for the rest of the team. Second, we did pairing session with QA and dev. This was actually one of the best side effects. By pairing up, knowledge spurred faster and people felt less stuck. Also, it made learning Kotlin a little less scary when you had someone by your side. Third, we built steps libraries for reuse. Instead of everyone reinventing the wheel, we created shared libraries of steps. That way, once a login step or deployment step was written, anyone could use it without starting from scratch. So yes, the migration was painful. The learning curve was real, and Jenkins gave us a few gray hairs. But by documenting, pairing, and reusing, we turned those pains to lessons. And looking back, I say the bet wasn't really bad. It was just part of the journey. All right, let's talk about Gauge. Of course, not the one of in your car dashboard, the one that make our automation life actually fun. We've been using it for a while now, and I will walk you through where things stands today. Some real usage examples and a few lessons we learned the hard way, so you don't have to. So first, the basics. Gauge is all about readability. Instead of staring a messy code, you write business readable tests. Specs. Spec is the big story, your business test case. A spec can have one or more scenario, and you can slap tags on it so you can find or run it later without going insane. Scenarios, basically each scenario is one workflow inside the spec. Start it with a heading, give it tags if you want, and run just that slice. Perfect when you don't want to wait until your coffee gets cold. Steps are the building blocks written in plain markdown list style. They can live in scenarios directly in specs or inside concepts. Every step mapped to actually code. So when Gauge run, it know what to execute. Concept. Concepts are the reusable steps bundles. Instead of the copy paste, your group steps on the reuse them everywhere. When Gauge runs, it executes them in order nice and clean. And then parameters. Step can take simple value like username or any string as you can see here, or whole table like user list. Even a dynamic value at the runtime. And also a full file without turning your spec into a war and peace. Finally, tags. Yeah, they are your sticky notes for specs and scenario, written as tags, comma separated. And when you tag a spec, the tags flow down to all of its scenario. And the best part, you can run just smoke or just regression instead of running the full suite and waiting for it to complete. Now, how did you actually run this at scale? We got Jenkins pipelines that trigger Gauge end-to-end jobs. Behind the scene, those pipelines spin up thousands of UI and API and system tests running across browser, Chrome, Firefox, you name it. And what about the result? We push them straight into Slack, providing a nice little summary so you know right away if a build passed, failed, or become a little unstable. And of course, for deeper digging, we've got the HTML Gauge report, a clear breakdown with pass, fail, and skip scenario, so both human and machines can understand what went wrong. No more guessing for a log file that looked like it came from the metrics or something. And here is the grand tour of the CI/CD end-to-end testing workflow in a high level, of course, that makes sure that code works and so actually we can sleep well at night. Okay, so if you're thinking about using Gauge, here my advice. First, start small. Don't try to automate everything. Pick the test with the highest return on investment, the one that saves your pain every single day. Second is the real steps. Build concepts libraries so you're not rewriting the same login steps 50 times. Also, bring the developer in early. So Gauge shines when the language of your test matches to the language of your code base. If testers say login and devs say authenticate, you're going to have a bad time. Also, you should make your report tell a story. It's not enough to know a test failed. use screenshots and log in to create clear, simple report that instantly show you what went wrong or where. So that is Gauge for us. Plain language tests, scalable pipelines, real-time feedback, and lot less pain. Of course, it's not a magic, but when done it right, it feels pretty close. And finally, the future. Look, Gauge already solved a lot of the pain points of testing, but where it gets really exciting is when you mix it with AI. Imagine this. You write the specs in plain language, and AI helps generate the steps for you. No more sitting stuck wondering what to write. When tests fail, the AI reviews the logs, suggests fixes, and can even open a pull request when the correct step implementation. No late night log diving. Of course, over the time, AI learns your system and warning you about issues before you even notice them. Gauge already gave us readability, modularity, tags, hooks, rerun, all the good stuff. Adding an AI on top turns into a smart copilot for testing. Not just running tests, but actually helping us improve and explain quality. Soon enough, the talk that I had today won't be the good, the bad, and the Gauge. It will be maybe the good, the bad, and the AI that helped merge the PR, fix the bug, and wrote the docs. By the way, you can check Vibium AI. Vibium AI, it seemed to be the future of test automation, created by one I mentioned before, Jason Huggins. All right, if we have a few minutes, I will show you a quick demo of Gauge in action. Actually, I'm using Playwright with Python here, but Gauge also supports Selenium, several other language and tools. In this demo, we will see our product in J4 Connect. It's an IoT device management platform that lets you securely connect, monitor, and update devices. So let me try to share my screen. Okay, so here's my demo project. You can see here the spec file and also the concepts. It's, of course, in a special folder, specs, and divided to two folders. One is the device management, and the second is the web UI. We can try to run the whole spec. And the show begins. So actually, it's connecting to the platform. Okay, doing the authentication, of course. Then again, authentication. Yes, in JFrog, we have a lot of authentications. No, it's stuck. Let's try to rerun it again. Hopefully it works. Okay, yeah. So it passed the second authentication, and we are hopefully in. Yeah, so this is the old dashboard. It will navigate to the new one. I think it's stuck. Let me check. Yeah, it's stuck, but we can try to maybe run it again. I think it's maybe internet issues. Hopefully it will rerun now, okay? Okay, it's all dashboard. Now it's a new one. Yeah, I think it's checking now the alert monitoring and go to the up the flow. You can see it so here in the debug flow. And of course, it should be taking a screenshot, and we have done. So let's try to see the Gauge HTML report, and we will see what happened. Actually, the full suite of the testing succeeded to do it, and we also here see all the flow. Let's try maybe another test with an SSH connection. Okay, it was connecting to a device. Yeah, it was much faster. We can see also its report. Let's check it. Yeah, so here it's connect to the device, telling us the system is okay and the Docker images are running, the container are running, also the system and the logs are okay. And also the Docker health check is okay. We can check, of course, in the device itself and see, for example, the images. So if I will run the Docker images command, we will see that there are two Docker images like in the report. So I think that's it for now. I want to thank you all for your time and attention. I hope you found the session useful and maybe even a little fun. I have a lot to hear your thought, question, or anything we discussed. Of course, enjoy the rest of the conference.